All right, guys, so just for the sake of argument, I'm gonna actually show what it would look like to be on the stick in the DIY fleece saddle. It's a lot more work. Well, not really a lot more work, but it is more work. It takes a little bit longer to set up. It's not as simple as setting your tether height, adjusting your bridge, setting down, and pretty much being done and ready to hunt. It's not that easy. There's a couple of things we're gonna need. First thing you're gonna need is a regular rock climbing harness. That's a must. Gotta have the rock climbing harness. Without the rock climbing harness, it's not gonna work. I'm not gonna be happy with it. All right, so gotta be safe. You don't wanna trust a fleece saddle to support your weight like you would a regular saddle. A regular tree saddle is designed to be a harness. The fleece saddle is not. So, one, safety first, wear a rock climbing harness. The rock climbing harness is what's gonna keep you safe. Like I said, it's a little bit more work. A lot more work, actually. But nonetheless, it can still be done. And it's just a pain in the butt to put the rock climbing harness on. And depending on which kind you get, it can be a lot easier to put on. I chose to go with a $30 harness instead of a $100 harness that has a buckle. Again, I was trying to stay low cost but effective. All right, so rock climbing harness is on. It's pretty much how it works. Don't worry about this. This is actually for rappel because my tie out point on a rock climbing harness is here, whereas the bridge on the saddle was up to about here. So that's a good 7-8 inch difference, okay? So you are definitely gonna need your lineman's belt. So this is the lineman's belt. And I'll quick walk you through what a daisy chain is. Basically what daisy chaining is you make a loop. Make a loop this end would be connected to your harness or to your saddle. Make a loop, reach through that loop, grab the tag end, pull through, create another loop, reach through, grab the tag end, pull through, and you just keep doing that, reaching through, grabbing the tag end, reaching through, grabbing the tag end, reaching through, grabbing the tag end. And then that is essentially what a daisy chain is. Just a way to keep the rope a little bit more compact. Now what I gotta do is I gotta tie in the lineman's belt to my lineman's belt loop. And essentially what you're gonna do there is just create a girth hitch, put the eye through, you put the eye through the loop, or you put the eye of the lineman's belt through the lineman's belt loop on the brain cramp on the harness, just like you would on your saddle. And you just, sake of argument, let's just do it this way, because that way it may look a little confusing. Take your carabiner to the end, feed it through, pull it tight. Pull over your knot, and now you've created, your lineman's belt is attached to left side. I put my carabiner on the right side just because it's easier, obviously, to grab. And like I said, I do have a tender on this. This will allow me to adjust tension. The Swabish hitch. I like the Swabish hitch mainly because it's a lot easier to get undone under load. It still, when you're putting load on it, it grips, but you can still grab the knot at the top and even under load, kind of pull down a little bit and break the knot free. All right, so same thing. I'm gonna go ahead and create a daisy chain because I gotta keep this out of my way. So I'm gonna create a daisy chain here with my lineman's belt. And then what I will do is I will hook this right into the lineman's belt loop again. You don't have to worry about closing off the screw gate at that point. You can if you want. I normally don't. So I'll go ahead and loosen it up this time. It's just, my weight's not on it, so I just want to be able to quickly reach back and grab it. That's all I want to do. All right, so that's that. Same thing as before. You're gonna set your tether. You're gonna set your tether. I'm gonna pull the eye around. You're gonna feed the tag in through the eye loop of the tether. And you would do this exactly the same as if you were climbing. So if I was setting up a climb, I'm doing the exact same thing. Only thing is I'm not gonna climb this time. There's no point in me climbing up and setting the tether. You've seen it twice. Pretty sure you know how to do it. All right, so that's pretty much set where it needs to be. Good to go, okay? Screw gate's unlocked. I can clip into the harness really easy when I need to. Second thing you're gonna need is your fleece saddle. All right, y'all, now don't laugh. It's a fleece saddle. It's not camo, it's not pretty. I did it mainly to see if it would work and practice until I was able to get the camouflage. But fleece blanket my wife had. What I've done is I've folded it to where it creates a hammock style seat. I've got a no-sew or no knot friction knot right there. I can show you how to tie that later. Again, my bridge with my Swabish hitch, another tender so I can adjust. And see what I mean about the Swabish? It still bites either way, but even under load, it's real easy to move. It's one of the reasons why I like it. The only difference with this is, with this one, you have to literally, you can go over your back like you're wearing a cape, pull it forward, and throw it around your neck. That way it just hangs. I do not have a waist belt on here, which is why you saw this piece here for rappel. Now, the only thing different I'm gonna have to do is I need this carabiner. All right, oh, drop the carabiner. In order for this to work, just gonna hang this carabiner right there for the time being. This right here, what can I do with it? Right in the pocket for the time being. All right, so the way this works is you're gonna need another loop so you can make a prusik. All this is a double fisherman's or a fisherman's knot. It's not a double fisherman's knot, it's just a half hitch on a half hitch, tied around itself, and then when you pull it together, the knot locks, okay? Again, this should be a little longer so I can position the knot, because you don't want the knot, you don't want your carabiner on the knot. Knots weaken the strength of the rope. I forget what the percentage is, but it does weaken it. So you don't want it on there. What you want is you want that knot to really be offset. So when you're hooked in here. All right, so I'm gonna attempt to do that. This rope It's a little stiff. This is 10 millimeter cord. Again, this is Sterling HTP static rope. And this is 6 millimeter accessory. All right, so in order to really do this, what you want to try and do is go ahead and offset that knot a little bit. And it still gets tricky. All right, so this is gonna be the one where you tie into your harness. You want another Prusik up above the Prusik for your harness. All right, so we're gonna do a wrap. If you don't know how to tie a Prusik, this will be a quick lesson in a Prusik. Gonna wrap it through again. And we're gonna go one more time. And the drawback with that is, again, that knot. Now see, this doesn't grab very well. It will, but it's not dressed very well. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take some time and actually kind of dress this up. And I'm gonna see if I can't feed this big knot up on the top. So what you're gonna do is you're just gonna wanna kind of tighten this down around the bottom and kind of just spiral it back around the rope so this end moves. See how that moved out? Now that knot is now at the top instead of on the side. And then you're gonna do the same thing. You're gonna pull it tight. You're going to hold pressure on it. You're gonna feed this end, and you're going to walk that loop around, and you're gonna walk the other loop around. A lot of people, when they try and tighten a Prusik, they'll just pull on it. That doesn't work very well. This is the best way to do that. All right, so there you go. Prusik tied. Now I'm gonna take my other carabiner. This is something that I think is very crucial. When you're working with your carabiner, the orientation so you can clip into your tether, whether you're doing a DIY fleece saddle or you're on an actual commercial saddle. You want to position it to where this gate goes down so you can clip in instead of trying to clip in this way. All right, all your weight's gonna be here. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna feed, open the carabiner, I'm gonna feed it in this way, and I'm gonna rotate, just like that. I'll push that up. That can actually act as a stopper knot to stop the tether from slipping. If you want, you can do that. It's a quick way to do that. So that's pretty much that. All right. This will be repositioned once I get up to what we consider hunting height. So I'm gonna move the camera, or no, I won't do that yet. I'm gonna go ahead and I gotta drop this Prusik because as you see, this belay clip on the harness is a lot lower than what it would be on a saddle. So I'll go ahead and I'll clip into that, tighten my screw gate, always tighten your screw gate. All right, and then I can adjust the slack. If I was gonna climb with the lineman's belt, I'll raise it up and I will lean back into it, at which point I will make my climb. And I'm constantly putting pressure on the lineman's belt until I get ready to take my next step. Once I take my next step, I'll come up. Now this right here, this is where this comes in handy. One-handed operation. Now you're safely attached to the tree. Now you set your tether. You want your tether, when you're doing a DIY, a little bit above head height. So again, you're leaned back into your lineman's belt, you're attempting your climb, coming up, bring your lineman's belt with you. If you need to pull in slack, take out slack. All right, so what's gonna make the big difference with this is, you got your tether, you want your tether up a little bit above head height. You still wanna keep that knot centered, or that eye centered to the center of your body. Again, that's just gonna stop you from swaying left or right. Now this one here is the one that goes to the rock climbing harness. See, at this point, I can remove this because I'm on the harness. And by the way, this is not fun. This puts a lot of strain in the groin area. I don't know how rock climbers do it. Maybe I'm doing something wrong. It's not really that bad right now. I wouldn't want to hunt with just this. It just seems to be, would be really uncomfortable, to be honest with you. All right, so daisy chain my lineman's belt back, and it's gonna go right back where it normally lives, right on my side. Okay, so now the only other thing I gotta do, and like I said, you can kind of get a little bit straighter to the tree if you want. It just makes, you know, I'm pretty much standing on my tiptoes. I mean, I can still lay back, but I'm just barely on the stick. I'm pretty much just on my toes. The harness has crept up. It's now this is now right above the navel, whereas before it was down around the waist. So not very good. So what you're gonna do, you're gonna take your Prusik, make sure it's good and seated. You wanna make sure that wrap's good and tight. You wanna make sure to test it, make sure it holds pressure. All right, so the next thing you're gonna do, you're gonna take your bridge to your DIY fleece saddle or to your sit drag saddle. And then this is where it becomes kind of a pain, because now you've got to kind of unfold it so you can fit comfortably in it. And it takes a little bit of adjusting to get right. I mean, it's still not bad, don't get me wrong. Still not bad. Then you just pull your tag in until you can get that adjusted and seated. And then get that right around your butt. You can come up right behind you if you want. I will go up a little bit higher, just so it creates more of a, kind of like a swing. Now at that point, I'm in the saddle. I'm in the fleece saddle. So what I gotta do is, I gotta take pressure right here off of the Prusik knot for the harness. So I'll just alleviate a little bit of pressure, and I'll lightly pull down and I'll just set my weight on it. Then what I can do is I can drop this down a little bit lower, so now that actually hangs down. So does it work? Yeah, it does. I'm secured here. I don't like being this high up. I mean, this actually isn't bad, but I can still get my 360-degree movement around the tree. I'm way over here. My primary shot, whether it's from this saddle or another saddle, is gonna be here, which is, this is my 12 o'clock, my 11 o'clock, my 10 o'clock, my 9 o'clock, 8 o'clock, 7 o'clock, and then I get to my 6 o'clock, which I can swing over here and I can still take my 6 o'clock, which is fine. Now, what I gotta worry about is on my 6 o'clock, I can take my 5 o'clock. That 4 o'clock, I can manage it. Gets a little bit tricky. That 3 o'clock, I can really extend my torso. But if I swing over here and I go around the tree, I can wrap the tree. Now I've got my 1 o'clock, now I got my 2 o'clock, and I can brace up against the backside of the tree, and I can get my 3 o'clock. Does the saddle work? Absolutely. Absolutely it does. You know, so normally I would just one stick with this, one stick up, one stick down. That's how I'd been doing it. Rappelling, on the other hand, is a little bit different, because it's gonna be a little bit tricky. Because now I gotta tie into a rappel rope. And I don't have no idea how I'm gonna do that because the rappel ropes got to move. You know, the figure 8 descenders got to move. This right here is a little bit uncomfortable for me. I tend to like to be sitting a little bit lower. It's actually not bad. So what I would do is I would actually drop the saddle a little bit until I am sitting. Now I'm 90 degrees. It's a little, I went a little bit low with this, but does it work? Absolutely. Can I still do the same thing? Absolutely. The only thing that keeps me safe is this line right here. Even though I dropped it down a little, it's only down about 3 inches. If this was to fail, if this Prusik right here was to fail, or this bridge was to fail, the saddle's not holding, it's holding my weight now, but it wouldn't support me if it broke. I would just fall down to the ground. That's what this other Prusik is for, attached to the harness. The safety harness is literally doing its job. It's keeping you safe. Drawback with that is I could not use like a Predator platform or something like that, because as soon as I stand up, this falls out from underneath me. It'll fall right down to my legs, unless I was to put some type of a waist belt around it, which I thought about doing, but honestly, I'm not gonna go any farther with the fleece saddle because of the simple fact that I don't need to. I got a commercial saddle now and got access to one, and no need for the fleece saddle. And I can still attach my back band. On a side note, I can still attach my back band here with the Prusiks, just like I did with the commercial saddle, and that would give me back support. But I mean, I'm banging out around the tree. My legs, man, I'm almost upside down. So I mean, does it work? Yeah. It serves its duty, that's for sure. I should have went up a little bit higher with this, just because I could, but that's the problem too. In order for me to readjust this, now I got to reattach the lineman's belt, stand up, then set back into the fleece saddle again. So does it take a little bit longer to get set up at hunting height? Yeah, it takes a lot longer. Well, not a lot longer. You saw I had to do 3 additional things. And to get the same result, it took me probably about another minute to 2 minutes longer. That was with me explaining it. If I just have to go through the motions and do what I got to do, shoot, I can do it in less than a minute. I got pretty good at climbing and doing this. The drawback is I don't like climbing with just the rock climbing harness, because it does ride up, because your weight's dropping into it as it's being pulled. I could shorten the bridge, drop the Prusik knot down and shorten the bridge real close, and I could get this to where it's basically, with my weight in it, it's basically doing what I'm doing now, which is creating a swing. And I could have it attached to my tether, and I could one stick up with it like that, and I could still have the same feeling of setting. I could still have the same feeling of setting in the actual saddle or a commercial saddle. But again, if something was to happen, it was to slip off of me, it would fall down around my knees, my ankles, somewhere around along the lines of my legs. And you know, it's just not a very good idea. And you know, I could still twist. If I was a bow hunter, I could still twist. I mean, I could still twist and get that 6 o'clock rifle shot free-handed. The positions that I showed you, that's the good thing about having a bridge, is I can rest my rifle arm right up on that bridge, rest the palm of my hand on the outside of this tree, holding like this up against a tree, that being the tree, that being my finger. And within that little groove right there, I can rest the barrel portion of the rifle, and I can create a very stable shot that way. I can, whatever angle, it don't matter. Those of y'all that shoot rifles and whatnot, you know, it doesn't matter.